What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk about the topic of if we can make smartphones into a hologram slash projector. And the reason why I sort of consider that is because, well, I have noticed sort of the same trend with smartphones as I noticed with sort of desktop computers, and that is how everything is sort of moving you towards one app. So for example, on my MacBook Pro, I mainly use the browsers. I use like 3 browsers. Most of the other apps I'm not really using. So you can see, and I think many people are like this, that everything, you sort of start out with a lot of apps and stuff like that, and then you realize, well, it takes a long time to load all this stuff, and then eventually you move into, okay, I can just use one app, the web browser, use many browser tabs. But then eventually it seems like, okay, but if we're moving from using apps towards using one app with tabs, it's like we almost like we incorporated all the apps inside of the browser, inside of one app. And then it's like, okay, but eventually we're just gonna move probably towards, you don't even have to use tabs anymore. You have everything in sort of one tab, even though that might sound super confusing. It might be hard to sort of visualize because we don't really have that technology yet. But and then it's like, okay, I noticed the same sort of trend on my smartphone, even though it's currently not there yet. I mean, it's not that comfortable to use tabs on a phone because you usually can't multitask so easy in terms of quickly like tab between. Yeah, you have multitasking, but you don't. But for example, if you are in an Android browser and you use all the tabs, it is a little bit annoying, right? You can see how this can be done much better, right? More like that, how it's on desktop, where it's just one click and you just switch super fast between various UIs. It seems like that is where sort of smartphones is going towards. And then you take that a little bit further. Okay, so then eventually you sort of realize, okay, I'm only using my eyes to sort of look at a screen and observe a screen. So I'm not really using so much else. The RAM, the CPU, the GPU, all of this. Like, sure, you're using it in a way, but it also is that you more and more start to look at it from the perspective of, okay, do we really need this fat battery and this like fat phone? Same as you saw, the phones were even bigger in 1980s. Then it was like more embarrassing, but it seems like we're gonna move more towards, okay, then eventually we're gonna look at a smartphone that we're using now as embarrassing in the future, because right now you need a 4000 milliamp battery to run a screen, and you sort of start to look at that and be like, okay, I have to charge this device just to observe what is happening on a screen. What if you can just make some hologram or some kind of projector that doesn't have to burn so much battery? But the question is, if we're gonna will we have this technology where, for example, you can have, like, what is the cheapest way to produce a screen that has internet access, that can display colors, and that can display that screen good on sort of any surface? That's a very big challenge, because first of all, we have the problem of, let's say you're out, okay, and it's pretty good weather. Like right now, it's pretty good weather, like sun is out, but to have a hologram or some kind of projector work in that, it doesn't really seem like we're close to that, right? Doesn't really seem like we're close to that. I bought a projector 2012 and it's really amazing, but the thing is that it's only amazing in a dark room. I haven't checked out the brand new projectors now, 2019, but I can imagine So the question is, will smartphones eventually turn into some projector slash hologram where you have the internet access and you have a screen and you can interact with it? Why would this? It does seem like this is going to happen, but it seems like first it's going to take a step towards, it's going to take some kind of step towards maybe smaller phones, but maybe more, we're probably going to get both, like bigger phones and smaller phones, even though the focus the last couple of years has been on bigger phones. I think one of the main reasons is because that's easy to sell, and like more cameras, like the dual camera, the triple camera, and now the quadruple camera that we're now seeing. But I think eventually people are going to realize, right now you need a lot of space, I think, to put in a GPU and a processor and a big battery. I think that when processor becomes even better and GPUs becomes even better, that many people will have smaller devices. We'll have smaller devices that can interact with the internet the same way. So for example, imagine if you can have a Galaxy S10 or an iPhone XS Max, I think that's what it's called, but that it's just 1/10 of the size. Would there be a market for that? I actually do believe. I do believe that there's a huge market for technology that can do the same thing but in a smaller form factor. Mainly because it doesn't seem like that of a big deal. Like, okay, you could walk around with a 5-inch phone. Like, why would anyone pick a 1-inch phone that can do the same thing? It's like, it sounds kind of silly, but I think actually many people will move towards a 1-inch phone then eventually, because I don't really think that a lot of people have this massive need to have something massive always walking around with, because it many ways will just be, people gonna look at it from the convenience perspective. He says with the keys and stuff like that to unlock and unlock stuff, just a slight little tweak of that, it's easier to hold in the hand. It's like small things like that people usually don't consider that much, because it doesn't seem like it makes that much sense. That why would someone want to have something super small and be able to do a lot of stuff with it? They of course they want to play games and watch Netflix on a big 5-inch screen, but is that really how people are using smartphones? Because people many times, they look at how people are using desktop or a TV. They're watching Netflix and they're playing games on that. Oh, that must mean that they want to do the same thing on a smartphone. I don't actually see that to be the case, really. I don't see that many people playing games on their phones. I don't see them watching that many movies on their phones. They're watching YouTube, yes, but like long stuff, content, they don't want a 5-inch screen for that. They want a 40-inch screen or a 50-inch screen when they watch something big. So I think that eventually we're going to move towards way smaller form factors, because what I actually think people are mostly doing with smartphones is they're checking information and they sort of want to get entertained. Right? And they want to see, they just want to see something entertaining and something amusing that kind of is, it doesn't take that much, a long time, that they can do in maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 1 minute. But all this like super long form content, I don't think that people are gonna look at it on like a baby screen, right? So it's a screen we're talking about, a hologram screen or some kind of projector, and we don't know like how close the technology is towards that. Well, now we're sort of stuck in this phase of, okay, $1,000 for a new phone, And it seems kind of like a ripoff, because you sort of know with the phone, with the software, that you're only going to use like 1 or 2 apps. So you sort of have an incentive to, okay, can we sort of dematerialize this way quicker? Because that would just make everything better. It would just make the experience so much better. Where instead of having a phone coming pre-installed with 150 apps, maybe I can select 1 app. Maybe I don't gonna use any of those other apps. And maybe I'm not even gonna have a desire for the GPU. Maybe I just want the CPU, right? And this is moving in both directions, of course, because in many ways, when the smartphone brands get money for overpriced phones, they actually can use it for good, for research and development. But in many ways, they're using it for a lot of gimmick stuff, because actually research and development in holograms and projectors, it doesn't seem like a massive incentive currently right now, because timing is quite important. That you try to time an industry. For example, virtual reality to 2016 with HTC Vive, it clearly is too early, and it's not really ready yet for the mainstream, right? Because yeah, you can do some cool stuff, but if you can't bring something cheap and affordable to the mainstream masses, it's like it's never gonna be adopted. So timing is super important. So these big smartphone brands, they sort of see right now that there's massive incentive to sort of make a lot of gimmick features and sort of remove a lot of stuff that people actually like the headphone jack, micro SD card, the sort of like the battery that you can't remove it. So they sort of they're taking a couple of years of just hoarding money by doing these like weird updates where they sort of do a lot of stuff that people don't really care that much about. But then eventually I think it's going to turn around, and they actually have the capital to see, okay, it's kind of cheaper now to do research and development, and we're sort of starting to see a broader market and a more mature smartphone market where people can start to look at, okay, what is the next phase that this all is moving into. And as I talked about in the past, it's going to be some kind of more focus on improving the software by decentralizing it. And that's exactly why people are in this blockchain and crypto industry, that they sort of see that this is sort of where it's heading. And it kind of like the cool thing that's going to be when in many ways with some kind of hologram or some kind of projector smartphone, you're sort of going to make tech invincible. And you're also going to normalize sort of like making a lot of value, like making a lot of content. For example, now when we have like these super HD video functions on smartphones, now people are going to realize like how much value you can create just by record something. So even though we've had this like video capability a very long time, over 10 years in smartphones, it hasn't really, all this video hasn't really been monetized. It's only been a few people that has been able to benefit from it, especially with YouTube, where they've been able to sort of make some videos, professional videos, and get a mainstream audience and sort of make some fiat money. But then they're still stuck in the fiat system. While now you're sort of gonna mainstream making video, creating a lot of video, make it like super mainstream. I remember 2013, it was super weird to do like vlogs and stuff like that because nobody almost did it. Like, yeah, there were a few weirdos that did it, and there's always like the weirdos that sort of start to use something, and then like the middle class sort of comes in and makes it normalize technology, right? And it's kind of interesting to see that phase, how that moves, and how now with smartphones, and if you kind of like make it so a phone is just a screen and it's like a hologram or some kind of projector, it means that it doesn't even have to use a camera. We can have like super small cameras, or if you used to have some kind of screen interface, then it's like a good question, like how people are going to use like cameras, and how small you basically can make cameras, because a camera doesn't have to be attached to, let's say, it doesn't really have to be attached to some kind of hologram, projector, screen, smartphone. It just has to, as long as it has like a good sensor and has some kind of internet connection, you will be able to like make a video and then sort of just upload it to the cloud, and then sort of the AI takes over and knows exactly what to do with that. So by separating the camera sensor with like the hologram kind of screen smartphone, you can make it even more affordable, where you really can almost like give away this hologram screen projector for free. And that is kind of cool, man, because when all people have access to that, oh my god, that will change things. Because it means that a person doesn't really have to spend money on technology. They just have it, right? It seems like obvious, right? That then it's like, oh, this is just like electricity or water or something like that. It's a means, it's a way of communicating with the world, basically. So it's going to be fascinating to see where this whole industry goes. And even though we're probably going to see a few gimmick years, even more gimmick years, 2019, we're going to probably see a few more gimmick years, but eventually it seems like the consumers are going to move towards more software, and sort of they can start to make money, right, just with software, blockchain and crypto. And then they're going to look more at technology. When they have more capital, they're going to look at, okay, I want to see Samsung do something really cool, or I want to see Apple do something really cool. And now it seems like they're sort of aiming too low. Like, I want to see a really amazing software experience. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. But yeah, it does seem like we're moving towards screen hologram projector thing, even though it may take a couple of years. But I would love to see it. Really, I would love to see it, because it just makes everything so much better, right? Because the most annoying thing with smartphones now is you have to charge them literally all the time, and it's super annoying. Yeah, so that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Have a great day, DTube and the Steam blockchain. Bye bye.